Hi, everyone. Welcome to Building a Team Who Will Help You Raise Money. Thank you for being here. I'm Isabel, a regional fellow for Fair Trade Campaigns for the Great Lakes region. I will just be introducing your wonderful speakers, and I will stay on our Q&A chat throughout the whole session. So as you have questions for our speakers, I will just be picking those out and reading them back to them at the end of the session. So remember, if you have any questions, to post them onto our Q&A chat. And also, please remember to answer our poll question. It's also right there on the chat, the Q&A chat, and then our poll. We're going to be talking about effective fundraising and how that can really help you build and grow your campaign. And for that, we have Rachelle Ankney, a fundraising expert from Chicago Fair Trade, Elisha Chan, Executive Director of Fair Trade LA, and Katherine Bissell Cordova, Executive Director of Chicago Fair Trade. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everybody. Katherine, do you want to start us out with a little bit about Chicago Fair Trade?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good to be here, though I was planning on being at the pool at the hotel in Pasadena right about now, but here we are. Anyhow, I'm glad this is working out and glad you're able to join us. And sorry, my phone keeps dinging and I can't, anyhow. My computer. First off, just a huge thanks to Rachelle, because Rachelle was a volunteer who called one day and said, I want to help you fundraising. And since she's been able to help us fundraising, we're able to do a whole lot. So, because we have paid staff, because in large part, thanks to Rachelle. So I'll give you just some highlights of our organization, Chicago Fair Trade. So, and this one's very wordy, but the rest is a lot of pictures. But we were started as a program of Oxfam America in 2005, seeing how popular fair trade was and how there was a movement, a strong movement in Europe, and we were behind in the United States. So people were working in fair trade, but pretty siloed. A young woman from Oxfam recommended giving a $25,000 seed grant to start a citywide coalition to work on fair trade. And she suggested that she thought Chicago was a good place to do it. We already had people here meeting a fair trade committee. So we got the money, spun off in 2006 and became an independent 501c3 Chicago Fair Trade. We launched a Fair Trade Towns campaign in 2008. We're a big city, so it was a big undertaking and involved hundreds of people along the way throughout all the region, all the neighborhoods, 77 neighborhoods in Chicago, and were declared a North America's biggest fair trade town in 2011. In 2014, we spearheaded a campaign to make the city of Chicago sweat-free. So we passed an anti-sweatshop ordinance. And then the following year, Cook County, that Chicago is part of, passed a similar ordinance. So those are major milestones. And just to give you an idea, just the past 12 months. So yeah, we'll move on from here. If you could go next, Rachelle. Next slide.
It's on the next slide, Katherine.
It's not for me. That's weird. Sorry, one sec.
It's the highlights of the past 12 months slide.
Yeah, no, go to the next one, please.
Oh, after the next 12 months?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch that we're going to go through rapid fire because we've got good photos.
Oh, got it. Okay.
There you go. So a year ago, March, we had a national campaign, fair trade campaigns going on here in Chicago. We were very happy to have it here in Chicago. And we, there I am kicking off with our board chair, Andrea Dennis. There we have students from Whitney Young High School, which we partnered with, and they became the first fair trade town in Chicago last year. So there we were at the conference last year. Next. In April, Fashion Revolution, we had a panel and discussion, and it was sold out. Two other groups had panel discussions as well, and they were all sold out. So that was exciting because we've been working on the apparel industry for years, and in past years, panels were not sold out. So we're very excited to have a sold out panel. Next. Here we are at the end of April. We have preparing for our World Fair Trade Day event. We always have the biggest World Fair Trade Day event in the country every May. And even though we are, I'm full-time staff, it's my full-time job to work with Chicago Fair Trade. I'm extremely lucky. We still have a tight budget and try to do things both ethically and on a budget. So we got a local thrift store every year donates over 100 blank T-shirts to us. And we go to a Lil Street Art Center, which is a community art center, and we make a field trip for students from high school to come and print us 150 T-shirts for $111. We pay to have to do this custom class, and that's always a whole lot of fun. And then if you go to the next slide, then we have our volunteers wear these at our World Fair Trade Day event. So we have a big World Fair Trade Day event. We have it on Michigan Avenue, which is the largest shopping district in the city of Chicago. If you think of wherever you live, there's probably an area when you think of shopping, that's what you think of. That's what Michigan Avenue is. There's a lot of big box stores. There's a lot of, Zara and H&M, Uniqlo, all those stores. There's also a beautiful big church that's very legendary in the city of Chicago called Fourth Presbyterian Church, and they're members of Chicago Fair Trade. So every year we have students there. We had students just down the street from the church handing out fair trade chocolates that we got donated, along with these big signs and little handouts to people and telling them to head up the street. We had student musicians playing to draw people in. Next, please. We had workshops. To the left, we invited B Corp, which we've connected with a local B Corp community. They did a workshop that went so well that some of our fair trade business members now actually have a group called Be Curious, and they meet every month and they're working together on their B Corp applications and connecting with the B Corp community, which is really great. There's me on the right being interviewed by WTTW. Sorry, I'm telling them to take me off this text. Sorry, it keeps. So yeah, we were on our local PBS station, a segment on our World Fair Trade Day this past year. Next, please. Here we took in the home of the church. The church had a clergy home that was really being used just as storage space and was filled with plastic bins. And the pastor that we work with on our World Fair Trade Day there event said, maybe you guys could think of something to do with it. And so we walked in and we were just floored. It was this gorgeous 1914 beautiful apartment that we took all the junk out and moved in a whole bunch of fair trade items. We partnered with the local furniture bank. We partnered with West Elm, and we have 60 business members. And here you see we tripped out the whole house in fair trade, pillows and cushions and tabletop. Next. We filled the shelves with fair trade items. We had kids, fair trade kid play area. Next. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful, inviting, lovely place that we all wanted to move into. But it really resonated with people who came through and saw like, wow, I could really incorporate fair trade into my life every day. Next, please. So then in June, we had a membership drive. We do an individual membership drive. And for the first time, we did it big time this past June. And we got 60 members to sign up. We have about 300 individual members, and we raised $5,000 in membership to that one at the end in June. Next, please. Here we are in the summer. We did markets. We do different markets where we invite our members to come and sell throughout the summer. Next. September was our flash fundraising drive, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that's what Rachelle is here. We're here to talk to you about is a flash fundraising drive, which has been an absolute game changer for our organization and got us from being extremely stressed about money and having cash flow issues to having some normalcy and consistency in our work. And it's helped us grow tremendously. Next. October, we brought Elizabeth Klein, who's a foremost expert on ethical fashion. She wrote a book called The Conscious Closet Club that came out in August. So we brought her to Chicago there we are in the Cultural Center in Chicago with a panel discussion, and there she was. We set up her to speak at different places throughout the city. That was at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago's fashion department. Next, please. November, we have Global Fest. That's our annual fundraiser, and a lot of fun. Next, please. And then November and December, we run a pop-up shop where we have our business members are invited to participate. They pay a fee to be there. We take a commission, so it's a fundraiser for us. It provides them an outlet to sell in the winter. And this past year was our 6th year doing it. And in the 2 months we were open, we did over we did $218,000 worth of fair trade sales. So that was big undertaking. So, and there we are we have Fair Trade Santa. We have this hippie volunteer who's Santa. So he came, which was wonderful. And I think that's it on this slide. Yeah, next, I think we're moving on to Elisha now.
All right, Elisha, can you walk us through a little bit about Fair Trade LA?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for signing on. We were really looking forward to hosting you guys here in LA, in sunny LA. But I am glad that we found an alternative, given the situation. And we can still get together and learn. And then second of all, I just want to thank Rachelle. Katherine's been bragging about her, telling her, you got to get Rachelle to LA. And so our board actually flew her in last year now, and she did a training for our members and also for our board. And we were able to implement what she's about to teach you today. And it went really well. So I'm really excited that she gets to teach all of you guys in this platform. So I'm going to give you a little backdrop on Fair Trade LA and what we've been able to accomplish, especially after Rachelle has helped us do this fundraiser. And I won't speak too long because I know you guys want to hear from Rachelle ultimately. So we were started in 2005 by our famous former executive director and founder, Joan Harper. 2014, we became an official nonprofit. In 2014, we also launched the LA campaign. And I got involved shortly. And in 2018, there was a change in leadership. Fair Trade LA brought me in as a part-time executive director. And now 2020, we are about to finalize our LA campaign to make LA a fair trade city. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. Something that I was really excited about that we implemented this year was we actually got into an office, which really elevated Los Angeles Fair Trade LA as a nonprofit. We are in the Arts District of downtown LA in a co-working space, and we are surrounded by other social enterprises that are also fighting human trafficking and building schools in war zones. So we're just in a great community there. Next slide. So a little bit about 2019. We did our flash fundraiser, which we raised. Our goal was to raise over $20,000. We raised over $21,000. Again, moved into our new office, started an ambassador program. We sent more than 12 campaigners to the conference in Chicago. And I will give you the updates on those. Are no longer our numbers, so I'll give you the numbers later. So next slide. Other educational events we've done, we do this thing called Fair Talks, which is a playoff of TED Talks, where we bring in fair trade speakers, and that's an educational event we put together. We did a book launch, and on your right is all the outreach events we've done in partnership with a lot of churches and just any community groups that want to introduce fair trade to their community. And then next, so I'll end with this. We were really excited to celebrate our campaign with all of you live here in LA. Los Angeles, once we finish all the goals, we would be the largest fair trade city in America and the 4th largest in the world behind Seoul, Rio, and London. We had our city council. We had our fair trade resolution at City Council in the agenda to be voted on right before this conference. And unfortunately, with the coronavirus and everything, it is put on pause. But we've met with over 13 of the 15 city council members and with the mayor's office, and we have not had any pushback. Everyone's been really supportive. If anything, they're like, wow, it hasn't happened yet. So it's going to be a no-brainer. It's just about actually getting it on the agenda and getting it voted on. So we're so close, but hopefully we will share this good news with you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And I'd like to open this up. I know that folks can't talk here, but you can chat. So if you're attending the meeting, if you can just tell us, is there anything that your organization or your campaign needs money for? Is there anything that sounds exciting to you? Maybe some paid staff or anything like that. If you want to just, I'll give you a minute to enter some things in the chat. So let me wait for that. I'm going to look back through everyone's hellos. Justine from Portland, Oregon is here. Bill from the Graduation Pledge Alliance. Elena from LA. Hi, Elena. Christine from Oakland. Diane from Santa Fe. Eldana from Irvine. Tori from New York City. Jane from Mankato, Sarah from Chicago, Vic from Gallant International, Phil, Madison from Riverside, Casey from Austin, Jackie from New York City, and Margaret and Carla. All right, so let's see. Carla says hosting events and bringing in speakers to create a buzz. Eldana says raising money for land and a building in Kenya to give her women a permanent place to work. Bill, paid staff. Also for Eldana, paid staff. Sorry, there's a question coming in for you, Katherine. It's just taking a minute. These are not real time. Jackie says, we're just getting started in New York City. So some money for giveaways at tabling events. Okay, like the t-shirts and so forth that Katherine was talking about. Fair trade bags are the best, right? Fair trade totes. Anybody else have anything? Jane says, in Mankato, we've been a fair trade town since 2011, have done many fundraisers. And has a question for you, Katherine, about the membership drive. Phil says, amazed at all you do. Who is we? Let me take that question because it's a different answer for, did we just lose Elisha?
I'm here.
Oh, scared me. Okay, so Phil, Elisha has a board of 7 people, I believe.
Now it's 10. Phil's actually our board chair.
Oh, that's Phil. Okay, and then Katherine has a board of, where are you at now, Katherine?
We're at 9, but about to go to 12. And
nice.
Then 14. Yeah.
And we are going to talk about, that's a great question, Phil. We're going to talk about the we in fair trade by the end of today's workshop. I'm going to also, if you don't mind, Jane, take the question about the membership drive. This year we decided to do a telethon, and it was a great deal of fun. And we called everybody who had ever expressed an interest. So these were not cold leads. They were, hi, Joan. They were people who had ever signed up for the newsletter, who had ever done any sort of expressing an interest. So we had their contacts, and we just all sat in a room and just called for 2 hours, I think it was. And actually, a girlfriend of mine that I'll tell you a little bit more about later, she hosted us all of us who'd volunteered to make the calls. And we just asked people if they wanted to be members, some of whom had been members before, and they just didn't realize that this is something they could do every year. And what we did that I think was a big step forward is to try to get those folks to tell us that they would just do an automatic renew of their membership, which is always good, as all of you know, for nonprofit organizations. So, and in that case, we were board members and a few other folks who said, sure, I'll do this. And a couple of board members were not okay with making phone calls. So we just replaced those with, and I guess I'm using the we here. I'm not a board member. I just collaborate with Katherine and with Elisha on ways to raise more money for fair trade. So when I say we, it's either Katherine and me and a couple of her board members, or Elisha and me. And hopefully it's going to be, say, Andrea in New York City and me, or Jane in Mankato and me, because I'm happy to help raise money everywhere. What do you think? I just want to put another spin on this question. What do you think the difference would be for the fair trade movement if your organization had money? So I'm not talking about a national organization here having money. I'm talking about Mankato having money, and not the town, obviously, your fair trade movements, your fair trade campaigns, and your fair trade organizations having money. What kind of a difference do you think that could make? Because, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this. This comes from sort of my analysis that we are all people who believe in fair trade, but we're a movement that's run in the US almost entirely by people who don't get paid for their work in this movement. And I think that creates some systemic problems for the movement. It means that, well, one, it's not fair for people who are fighting for fairness. It also, as probably many of you know, really saps energy out of people because they then do this in addition to a job. And it limits who can be working in this movement, as in heading up an organization, et cetera, to people who can either do it for free or do it alongside another job. I'm not talking about if you own a fair trade shop, that's your job. And I hope that you're writing in a good salary for yourself in that job. But I'm talking about, are you running a campaign? Are you chairing an organization, et cetera? And I'm concerned that we will reinforce systemic racism that's a part of this country if we limit our movement to people who can do this for free, can do this work for free. That's my take on how it could benefit the movement if each one of our fair trade campaigns and each one of our fair trade organizations in each of our towns and cities and colleges raised some money, maybe had some money for staff, maybe part-time staff, maybe full-time staff. So what are other people's thoughts and analysis of what you could do what we could do as a movement if each of our towns had funds? I'll give this a minute again. I want it to be instantaneous, but it isn't. So I have to exercise patience. I really, really dearly, dearly wish I could be doing this in front of your faces in sunny LA right now, or sunny Pasadena. But I'm reading your chats as they come in. What's that?
May I add a little bit too? I just
Please.
love that when you came in, you shared with us the mindset of, running off of volunteers is just not sustainable. And in order for this movement to be sustainable, you have to have just paid staff that's dedicated to this. And I'm sure all of these people in this chat understands how it is to volunteer, because these are probably the group of people that volunteer endlessly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I would just add, that we need our volunteers. Obviously, but I don't know, Elisha, I joke sometimes when I tell people about my job, I'm like I'm a matchmaker and a cheerleader and a pesterer, but you need the person who's paid to remind everyone else who's volunteering and hold them accountable. And that's sometimes hard when you don't have paid staff.
Right. And you know how it is. I mean, those of you who work another job and then do this volunteer, if your job gets busy, then your volunteer work has to be on hold for maybe a couple of months, and then you have to pick up and start all over again. And you never have momentum when you do that, right? So Tori says, I think that's right. And there's been such an impact from the campaigns that have revenue. For example, media, Chicago, LA, fundraise. Yeah. Anybody else have a comment on anything else you see that we could do nationally and internationally if we had more funding at the roots? I'll just give this another second, and you can watch us all drink our fair trade tea and coffee. You know what? I could probably just explain or do the next part of this, which is just about me, while you're typing in your thoughts and ideas. Because I think one of the things that I teach in my workshops on raising money is how to tell our story about why we care about fair trade. As I know all of you out there know that we can get excited about facts and figures, but that most people don't get excited about facts and figures. Most people get excited about personal stories. So I just want to put my personal story out there for why I care about fair trade. And that is that I was raised on a farm. And when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. And there were times when we got the government cheese, for example, which I loved. And all of our clothes shopping was done at Salvation Army and garage sales, which was fine. We were proud of that. But when I grew up and got to know a little bit about the world, let me back up. The reason that my childhood was not at all traumatic, even though food would have been an issue if we'd had to go to the grocery store, was that we had a farm that we got to have an acre of for ourselves to grow our own food. And it was not a farm that we owned, but we got that acre given to us to grow vegetables. And I'm pretty sure that I spent my entire childhood weeding and hoeing and watering things, which felt horrible to me as a teenager, but I ate wonderfully because you can imagine we always had, if we didn't have fresh food, we had to also snap and peel and pot and whatever, so that in the winter we had frozen peas and canned peaches and so forth. We ate well all year round. Didn't realize how good I had it until I had to buy some of those things at a regular grocery. But when I was doing that, buying things at the regular grocery, I found out that there are farmers in the world coffee farmers, cacao farmers, and for example, who don't get to taste their product. They can't afford to eat chocolate. Cacao farmers who can't afford to eat chocolate. And that hit me really personally. And I became immediately devoted to fair trade, and particularly around food, because that's the thing that to me made so much sense. from my own experience. But then I had to ask myself, how much fair trade coffee can I drink? How much fair trade sugar can I put into it? If what I do is buy fair trade, that's great. Certainly if everybody insisted on buying fair trade, things would be perfect, but we're not there yet. And if we're thinking about growing the movement, I decided that I had to raise money for the movement. I called Katherine up and she said, oh, good, we've got this bike ride people are doing to raise money, which at that time I had never ridden further than to work 5 miles. But I said, sure, I'll ride 308 miles for you for raising money. And it raised some money. I don't know, all together with a team of 4, a couple $1,000s or something, Katherine. Yeah, not nearly enough.
I think it was 4 or 5, but yeah, it wasn't. Okay. It was a lot of work.
It was not enough investment in the soreness that I promise you I experienced from this. And also, I'll be really honest with everyone. When it comes to throwing a gala to raise money and so forth, these are not my gifts. I do not food and tables and party favors. I'm not that person. So I asked Katherine that next year, I said, could I just talk to your board about calling people to ask them for money? I said, I promise I can help people get through their hangups about that. And so that's what she let me do it. She let me talk to the board. They said yes, some of them reluctantly and some of them excitedly. And we've been doing this flash fundraiser for 4 years now. And then I had a phone meeting with Elisha's board and asked them the same question. And they had me out and did their fundraiser this year. I'm going to check back to see if I've got some more comments on here. Oh, wow, lots of comments. This is awesome. Hang on a second. Juliet says we could influence policies if we, that's fantastic. Bill says we can help promote fair trade through paid media. Absolutely. Isabel says we could lobby to raise the standard of all industries. Yes. I mean, once the industries unite, then we can start having some worker rights. Carla says I hadn't considered the implications of having an all-volunteer staff. I had considered exposure, so making sure to cover all parts of Manhattan with posters and education, but not that some people may not be able to participate even if they want to. So having funds to hire a dedicated staff to schedule media events, tabling events, talk to politicians, reach out to businesses, etc. Great. Thank you, everybody. Here's what I want to do. We're about to tell you how to do this, how to raise money. A little fundraising how-to, but just for this flash fundraiser, not for the other ones that we mentioned. As I said, galas are not my gift. While we're doing this little how-to segment, if you can type into the chat area hang-ups that you have about asking people for money. And I'm gonna claim to you today that the number one thing you can do is walk away and leave one of those hang-ups just forever tonight, or at least start to walk away. So put in there the thing that is keeping you from asking people for money, or that you're afraid would keep you if you had to do one of these campaigns. All right, Katherine, you want to tell people how all the ways you raise money with Chicago Fair Trade? You are muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Yes, we have membership dues. And I saw someone had asked a question. I'm happy to talk to whomever later about different membership. But we have different kinds of memberships. We've got individual members, and that's what we were talking about with the membership drive. We have business members. We have 60 business members. We have faith-based members, nonprofit members, and academic institutions. Ideally, we'd love to be completely funded by our membership dues, but we're a long way from that. But we bring in about $15,000 a year from membership dues. Global Fest, that is, as Rachelle said, that's not her thing. Fortunately, I do like doing that, but I'll tell you, it's a lot more work than the Flash fundraising drive. But also because of the growth because of the funds that we get from the Flash fundraising drive, we've been able to increase all the other things we do. It's led us to having some money to be able to rent a place 6 months out and put down the deposit. And so it's really helped us in all of our fundraising, having that money. But so we brought in, we grossed $35,000 at our Global Fest fundraiser this past November. The pop-up shop, I told you what the sales were of the pop-up shop. Our portion of that, we raised about $35,000 from that. We do coffee sales, honorariums, with very little foundation. I really don't even look for foundation funding at this point. It's just they don't get what we do. And we always like to do things too. Everything that I'm listing here are things that we do that also help us carry out our mission. We're very intentional on all the things that we do to raise money, strengthen and grow our organization, and are tied to our mission. But so that other kind of miscellaneous category is about $8,000. And then the Flash fundraiser, we raise between $20,000 and $25,000 a year on that. So for a total of a bit over $100,000.
Yeah, so for Fair Trade LA, we also have membership dues. That is something that we are growing. The pop-up shops, we do a lot of events where we sell fair trade products, and that brings in a lot of our revenue. We also launched this fair package, which is a monthly subscription of a surprise fair trade product to your door. So that is something that we can get regularly, monthly. We also launched our Fair Trade LA coffee. It was an idea from Chicago, and we're now launching Fair Trade LA merchandise, so Fair Trade branded products. Social events. So before I get to the Flash fundraiser, I'd say that when Rachelle came and spoke to our board, we've been raising money through like an annual, just big event, fundraiser event. And it, like Katherine said, it takes a lot of work and you have to spend a lot to then make a lot. And I think when Rachelle came in, it was just the perfect timing because I think our board was just kind of looking for an alternative. And not that we don't like events. We love having fun and getting together. And we are planning a big event to celebrate LA as becoming a fair trade town. And through that, we're able to fundraise through sponsorships. So getting like Wholesome Sweetener was our sponsor. And so it is still great to do it through events. It just takes a lot of work, which then leads us to why we're here talking about the Flash fundraiser, because yes, like anyone could do it. And it does not cost. So it's a great option.
Great. Thank you both. This is my first thing for saying why we should do a Flash fundraiser, email fundraiser, direct ask fundraiser, is that it works. Like Elisha just said, anybody can do it. So it doesn't matter how big your group is. If you're college students running a fair trade campaign, or a city or a town trying to be a fair trade city, or already are and you want to keep things going. If you're church members who have a group that want to start getting your town interested in fair trade. Basically, if you're anybody who has friends that you email, you can do this. It does take work. The training takes a little work. Part of that is just getting over our hangups. And part of it is just writing down all the names. And part of it is for some of us learning the tech. But once you do that work, which isn't complicated, it's just a matter of doing it, then it only takes 3 days, start to finish. And it's kind of gratifying to see $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 roll in a day. So more actually that a couple of times in that first day. Here's how you do it. Recruit a team of people who are willing to ask for money. This could be the sticking point, but we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to say recruit a team of people who are at least willing to be trained to ask for money. That's you, or whoever in your organization is on this call with you. And then that team, everybody on that team, create a list of everyone who might give. And I'll just say here that when you create that list, and I say more in the training, but you want to be careful not to patronize people and assume that some people can't give. And therefore leave them off your list. It's okay to assume that somebody won't give because they hate everything fair trade stands for, which is super hard to imagine. But you might know someone like that. But I would say don't leave someone off your list because you think they can't give because they went through something difficult this year. Because it's not yours to decide for other people. I know that for the time of my life when I was in graduate school and living so far below the poverty level that often people would give me food. Or I remember one time quarters for doing laundry, which I so appreciated. And I was living in people's, like at one point on someone's back porch with a futon mattress on the floor. But I still, when I got my small paycheck, wanted the freedom to give some of that away because it still felt important to me as far as being a human being. And I wouldn't want someone to have taken that away from me. You know, I saved my money by not going to movies, but I should still have the right to give a little donation. And then finally, the last thing as part of this fundraiser is that you send emails for 3 days. And that's it. I'll come back to this because you're thinking it's got to be more complicated than that, but it isn't. I want Katherine and Elisha to talk about their results for this.
Sure. So we did it for the first time in 2017. And it was amazing. We actually did it for 5 days, but we realized it was kind of trickling the last 2 days. So anyhow, and that year our goal was $15,000, and we raised $24,691. We were freaking out. And also, I don't know, Elisha, if you felt the same way, but it was like just to feel like, oh my gosh, this many people care about fair trade, you know, in our organization. Like it was the most. I've never felt more like connected and supported in our work than during those days of each fundraising drive, but especially that first year, it just blew my mind, and it was in the best way possible. The next year we did $20,793. We did it that year about a month after our big fundraiser, Global Fest, and we realized that that's not the best because a lot of people had come to Global Fest, and we do a pitch at that as well, which we keep growing. So then this past fall, we switched. Well, it also just turned out we did the fundraising drive again in September, and we did Global Fest in November, and that helped. We did feel a little bit, just thinking in timing of it, was like we felt like we got a little bit less, also, sorry, in 2018, because the elections were right around then. So those are just things to keep in mind. But either way, like earning over $20,000 in 3 days from sending out emails is like the best thing ever.
All right, Elisha. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Did you want to talk about?
Sure. And here's a story. This is one of our youngest board members, Bethany, and she had joined the board just before, just before we did the fundraising drive. She was kind of quiet when she came on, and then we started doing the fundraising drive. I can't read all the notes there, but she just, this goes to, and we'll get into this a little more. I think Rachelle will get into it more a little bit later, but about just speaking from your heart and not trying to always educate with numbers and statistics. And she just talked about how everyday fair trade just made her feel so much less lonely in the world. And she just came through and shown so much. She surpassed her goal. She was young. She was just out of college. She, I think, had hoped to raise $500, and she raised over $1,000. This past year, she raised over $2,000, and she's become Rachelle's counterpart. Basically, Rachelle's really trained her and helped groom her, and she's taking over this. And she just recently, at our board retreat on Saturday, she just agreed to become our board co-chair as well. So.
Okay. So I had a request here to put up a slide again from Bill, but I don't know which one. Bill, let's just say I'll do that when we come back. And Eldana, yes, we do all send out the same email. Turns out we've got 3 sets of emails from Chicago Fair Trade and 1 set from Fair Trade LA. So there's a lot of those sitting around, and I didn't think that we needed to go into the actual verbiage because we're all resources, and we can hook you up with that at any time. So, and
they're simple, they're simple emails, but and then all you have to do is, what all the other people on the team have to do is just personalize it with like 1 or 2 lines at the beginning, and then send out the email.
Exactly. All right, Elisha.
Yes, so we've only done one. Was last year around May, around the World Fair Trade Day, and since it's our first one, we set our goal for 20,000, and we were able to meet it and go more, and it was pretty awesome because funds were still coming in like weeks after because people are, they get to their emails late, and so it's neat to have that platform where people can be a part of it and contribute even weeks, if not like over a month later. And also, I think we gathered a team of 12. And so not everyone was even on the board. First of all, I would say we were really blessed because none of our board members gave any pushback. Everyone was for it, and everyone was just ready and excited to try this new fundraising idea. So that was a huge blessing.
Yay, you got 3 of those people are on this in this conference right now.
Very supportive.
Bill and Elena and John. Yes, they're the best.
And also Rachelle encouraged us to reach out and see if there's even others who are not on the board who may be interested. And I was really surprised. We had 2 people, if not 3, that were not even on the board, but they came to the training because they wanted to learn about how to do fundraising. And when Rachelle asked them like what they plan to fundraise for, they're like, maybe Fair Trade LA. And I was like, great, let's add them to the team. So one of them became a board member afterwards. And so it's just neat that people do want to get involved. Yes, there's a flip side where people are afraid to ask for money, which Rachelle's going to talk about. But then on the other side, there are people that are excited to get involved in this way. Right. And if you could go on the next slide, I want to brag about Elena. I know she's on this call right now. I want to brag about her. She even did a talk yesterday as a conference kickoff speaker. She has her own nonprofit, but she wanted to help Fair Trade LA, and she's one of our new board members. She wanted to help raise money for Fair Trade LA, and she's still a student at LMU. She's still a student right now. And the neat thing about this campaign is everyone sets their own goals. So, you guys saw that we raised over $21,000. Well, not one person raised 10,000. We just all kind of split it up and kind of shared the burden, which makes it really easier to handle. And I asked Elena how she felt, especially because she was younger and obviously new to this, and she said, I thought it went really well, way better than I expected. I was just really conscious of who I was asking and what I thought they would donate, and people donated way more than I thought they would. It's also something that you can do a little bit at a time and have big rewards. I was on the East Coast on a road trip while we did it, and I just made sure that I set everything up and scheduled the emails. It also felt really good to help Fair Trade LA and have my family and friends support me in doing so. So it just shows that anyone can do this and anyone can get involved and be a part of this.
Awesome. I've made some notes here. I'm making one more note as people have put their fears down. I I'm gonna save the more technical questions for the end, for questions, and also just for the fact that everybody on this call, or every speaker here is willing to help you raise money in the future and share all of our data. We use different platforms. We have different emails. I will say everybody develops their own list. So it's their list of everybody that they know, who they think. And I walk people in the training, I walk people through how to generate that list. But you know, and I could help you with that. If you want to train your own folks how to ask for money, but everybody who's agreed to be on that team creates their own list of their own friends. So Elena's list might be shorter than my list because I'm more than twice her age, and I have had twice her number of years to meet people, and I have lots and lots and lots of contacts. So I would expect my list to be longer, and I would also expect myself to set a higher goal because I know people who have more people who have full-time jobs than she does. So everybody, as Elisha said, has their own goal and their own list that's their own size, and no pressure on how much you raise. Okay. I put my own starter list up here of things that might freak people out about raising money, because these are things that I have felt and things that I have heard. And I want to address some of these, but also address some of the ones that people wrote. And Phil wrote fear of rejection, which I think fits in with this first one I have up here on the list. And people might tell me no. And I want to just say to everybody who's on this call, if someone says no to you about money, it's just no about money. It's a really simple thing. All of the years that I was super poor, I had knowledge of where every penny in my budget went. And sometimes it was just no for now. And sometimes it was no, I have limited funds and that's not the thing I'm going to give to you right now because I only have $10 to give, kind of a thing. But it's not about you, and it's not even about fair trade. It's just about the money. And so a no about money it should be the least personal no in the world. And I think that most of us kind of have experienced this at some point in our life where we didn't have the money. So we just had to say no. I had a friend that I left on my list every year. And, you know, I was on her list, and I knew I was on her list for her fundraising thing that she cared most about, and I would give. And so I just returned the favor and put her on my list. But she had lost a job and couldn't find anything else for the longest time, and was working at Whole Foods, which doesn't pay nearly as much as they charge. So they didn't give for, I think, year one, year two. And then I think you can tell me if I'm right here, Katherine, but I think it was last year, all of a sudden, I mean, she had a new job again and she gave $500, right? So no was just no for now. I can't do it for right now, until it became yes. And that's the next one. My friends don't have much money. And I think that this is something that I have heard from several folks, especially younger folks. We had somebody on Chicago Fair Trade who was a student who said her friends didn't have much money. And she actually got a lot of donations that year. She did really well. So, I mean, it turns out that her friend's parents had money, and her parents, and maybe not her parents, but an aunt and an uncle, I think. So, and this is something I just really want to caution folks against, is deciding how much other people can give, especially to something that they care about, which might be you. So, and Elena also put up a note here on her fears is about asking for various things in a year. And this was something that she brought up during training because she has her own organization and she's raising money for Chicago Fair Trade, Fair Trade LA. And that's common for a lot of the folks who are part of your teams, right? You have boards of people who might own a fair trade nonprofit themselves, but they're part of your coalition, your fair trade coalition, trying to increase the span of fair trade. And do they want to ask for things more than once? So, and I think I so wish that Elena could just hop on and explain how she dealt with that. But I think you know whom to ask, when, and how much you want to ask, and whether or not a person is someone that you can ask for something, more than one thing in a year or not, because they're your friends and your family, right? And you judge that. And Elena did a fantastic job. And, she set her goal knowing that she's dipping into the pot twice, but then she went over her goal. Because people who can will give twice. I know I certainly will. Let me remember who said this. It was Eldana, who says, feeling like I don't know what I'm doing and the right ask. I am going to answer this at the same time I answer my own point here about people finding out that if I ask about money for fair trade, that people don't care about it because they don't want to give. So actually, the reason that most people give money to most things is because they're giving money to you. For a lot of people, if they're getting asked for money, it's not about the cause. It's about giving to a person they care about. I know Katherine was really surprised by some of the money that she was given by relatives that she did not expect. I was actually given money via a Facebook post that I did simultaneous to sending out the emails to a, what do you call it? My aunt's brother's wife. So, I guess we'll call her an aunt, but it did not occur to me to send her a letter. And now I'm actually in touch with her. And so much closer to her than I was because she gives every year and I keep in touch with her the rest of the year. So I'm going to say to Eldana and to others, just 1 second, Katherine, that you don't really have to know a lot for people to give, because I'm guessing that people will give Eldana because they love you and they just care about what you care about. The people on your list, it moves them that you care. Katherine, what did you say?
Well, no, I did. When you had said that, I remember that about your aunt's brother's sister in the Facebook post, and I think you said she's in Kentucky or something. And yeah. I would say one thing that Fair Trade has a big advantage over some other fundraising groups. Some other organizations raising funds. Sometimes it's for like a very specific shelter in your neighborhood or something. I understand, but this is something like, it's not about, even if it's Fair Trade LA, whatever, but people all over the country know Fair Trade and can buy Fair Trade and can support Fair Trade. So they're feel more connected, I think, than sometimes if you're working with a very small niche nonprofit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I think I'll just answer one more of these here, and then we can move on. Elena says so true, and I think that's about people loving Eldana. Yes. So I need to give people something for their money. This is just something that I sense so often from people is like, what can we do if people give us money? What can we give them back? Like, what do we give people if they're members? You know, when you give people the opportunity to make the world a better place, I don't like right now, especially, it's so frustrating to feel like you can't do anything to make the world better, right? It's like, you just feel so powerless and you're sitting here, especially now quarantined in your home, and you can't do anything but sit there, right? And I think to give someone the opportunity to invest in making the world a better place, which is what fair trade is, right? You're giving them the greatest gift in the world, and they don't need a tchotchke. You know, they don't need a keychain to take home for that. It just feels so good. Say, I made a difference. And my money is going to continue to make a difference, especially for me, if I know that raising money is going to create paid staff, which is going to make the organization sustainable for the foreseeable future. You know, that to me means so much. It's why I give to Chicago Fair Trade and to Fair Trade LA. And I probably have driven this in the ground, but I think everybody should be paid. And then when everybody is paid, it keeps going. It just keeps birthing new things, right? So yeah, okay, I'm going to calm down now. But when you invite people to give, you give them a gift that is big enough. It's enough. So here's another set of hangups that I kind of put together, and oh God, we got some new people joining us. Great. And that is that either I don't have a network or I'm only a student. I already mentioned that I don't know enough people. And sometimes with students, you know, there's only one of you on campus that's trying to drive this, or for any of you who's in a church or a town or whatever. And I really want to say right here and right now that you need to figure out a way to have a team. Because you are never too young or too old or too shy, too introverted, too involved in other things or whatever to build a team if you want it to keep going. But if you think you're going to keep it going on your own, that's just a lot to ask of yourself. So this is the first step that I would beg you to do. And I'm so delighted because I see on the chat that a bunch of you know each other. So that tells me that you have a team, which is the best first step. But this is why I think it's important to have a board. If you're a fair trade campaign or fair trade organization, a club, like an established club with a faculty advisor. If you're a university fair trade campaign, some people to make sure it keeps going. A committee, if you're in a church, you know, if you are trying to do fair trade in your town and nobody else seems interested, maybe a mom's group or a business person's group, something that you could, I don't know, can't really do a meetup in person right now, but you could do a Zoom meetup, right? And so I think you need to remember that you need human connection and self-care to keep this work going. One of the reasons that I bet that you love fair trade is because of the human connections that it gives, right? Like, you're a person who cares about who made your stuff, who grew your stuff. You care about them as humans. So take a minute to think about caring for yourself in the same way, and not just getting paid for this work, which I know I said I'd stop saying that. I'm going to say it again. But also in having those human connections that will support you in this work for the long haul. And if I were live right now, I'd be double checking to see if everybody has a team. But I really, really encourage you to do that thing first. Okay, I'm going to go back to here's how you do it with some additions. If you have a team, get a bigger team who will be your ask team. Because as Elisha pointed out and Katherine pointed out, there are people who aren't on your board who might do this. And I'm just going to give myself as an example again. I don't want to be asked to plan a gala. And I don't want to volunteer in a pop-up shop. All I wanted to do for Fair Trade, for Chicago Fair Trade, was raise money. And every month when I got their newsletter and that wasn't a thing in the newsletter, I was like, well, I don't know. Until I finally just called Katherine out of the blue, didn't know her, and said, could I help you raise money? Because I don't want to do any of those other things. And I don't want to feel guilty that I don't want to do those things. This is the thing I do. Right? So I'm not the only person in the world, right? There's other people who don't want to do that other stuff. They just want to get on the phone for a few times and either ask people to raise money or ask people to become members. Like, this is my skill set. There's other people with that skill set. I've met those people. Those people are coming into Chicago Fair Trade now. New people who just, that's what they like to do. So get that bigger team, and don't think there aren't people out there like me who want to ask for money, because there are. Then that ask team might need to sit down and do some work to get over their money hangups, so that they can make the list of everyone who can give. Remember, the next step was for that ask team to make a list of everyone who can give. Deal with some of your hangups first, so that you're willing to think honestly about the people you know, and not to just leave them off the list because you're afraid to talk to them. And I'm a resource for that. If I could, I would travel around to every city in the U.S. that's got a fair trade campaign, and I would train everybody to raise money. And it's not going to happen in this time, but maybe we can do that by Zoom. You know, we're all going to get better at that now. And I just today bought my own Zoom account. So, and I'm sure most of you have done the same this week. Your ask team then needs to figure out some technical details. And Elisha and Katherine and I are all resources for figuring out which donation software do you want to use. Katherine's, I think, gone through 3 platforms at this point. I don't know how many, Elisha. Oh, 2?
No, just one. CrowdRise. Always CrowdRise.
We're still, okay. We had a different one for the membership drive, right? Anyway, and then Elisha did a third one. So I've dealt with 3 platforms at this point, I guess. But Katherine and Elisha can tell you, how much they take. And also that picture Katherine showed you of her new co-chair did a bunch of research and has all this research about which ones do what. So that's out there. One of Elisha's members and I created a wiki for how you use Gmail's mail merge system. So that's out there. And it's just a thing. It's just a thing you have to do. And I will say that everybody, no matter how tech sophisticated they were on Katherine's board and on Elisha's board, they all just knuckled down and learned it. They just did it. And if they had to ask 3 times, they just asked 3 times. Everybody just got over their fears of the tech, and it wasn't a thing. Once they were like, this is what we're going to do. And then you pick some days that your team is going to actually be able to do this in a timely manner, and you send out the emails for 3 days. And it really is that simple. And again, we're a resource for you. At this point, we have a folder with at least 4 sets of letters. And we can tell you who should write the letters and kind of what they should say and how they should be personalized, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'd like to end with is, how do your people feel if they get to be part of this ask team? And I'm going to turn it over to Elisha for Fair Trade LA.
I'd say people felt included. I was surprised that from our fundraiser training that were meant for the members, several of them said the reason why they were there was to learn how to raise money for Fair Trade LA. And I think that was just such a surprise. And I think, like earlier I said, on the flip side, there are people who hesitate, but then there's also people like Rachelle who that's how they want to help Fair Trade LA. And they realize that they want to do more than just buy a bag of coffee. Like they want to do something more. And especially those, I understand that it is difficult if you're already raising money for something else, but a lot of people, they're looking for a cause to raise money for their birthdays or whatever. So one of our board members, they actually took advantage of, because it was the month of May, which is the month of their birthday. So they actually took advantage of that and said, why don't you consider giving this for my birthday? So I think it just makes people feel included. And I'm excited to kind of grow this team to make more people feel included.
Awesome. And Katherine?
Yeah, well, this is our board. We also had a couple non-board members do it. And, we had one board member who was very uncomfortable, who now is serving as our treasurer. Well, now he's actually bookkeeper, but that's fine. It's another way for him to support us. But everyone else, that first year, the people that were the most nervous were the most excited about it. When the money starts coming in, it's really fun. And you'll be very surprised at who gives. So I know it has helped everyone really feel more a part of the organization and more ownership in the organization. And it's really just changed the culture of our organization, where we're more now proud. This is a big thing that Rachelle helped us with the hang-ups. Like, what we're doing is great. And it's taught us all much better how to speak about it and to be proud of it and not be like sheepish or, and just be like, we're doing great work. Would you like to help? And it's really been amazing. We just had our board retreat on Saturday. Here's our board members. And I was surprised. We do go around at the beginning and talk about what's one thing that you contributed that meant a lot to this year. And the number one answer is the Flash fundraising drive, which would have shocked me before the first year we did it. So it's been wonderful.
Awesome. Well, I'm afraid we left 1 whole minute for questions. Whoops. We did deal with a lot of these questions as we went, but Bill asked, can we send a package detailing these technical items? I think we could. I think amongst the three of us, I think we already have a couple of Google folders, and we'll just figure out with the organizers of this how we make those available to folks. I think that we could probably create a group from the people who attended this. So Isabel, you could probably help us with that too. Just keeping track of who attended and who might like some materials. Mary, I want to finish with Mary's comment on here. She says, totally agree that giving people an opportunity to support fair trade is a gift you are giving them. I think we probably need to wrap up then. Isabel, if you want to take it from here.
Yeah, thank you. The three of you, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I just added your LinkedIn URLs or handles or whatever you call it, if people want to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. I will also get back to everyone on how we can share some of the more technical resources, like Bill said. And I think we have time for one question that I saw on the Q&A, so maybe you can answer that. It's from Jacqueline Martin, who said, how do we ask people to give money to the work of our fair trade campaign when they could be giving money to purchasing fair trade products instead?
I'm going to answer that for myself, is that buying fair trade products for me wasn't enough, because I don't drink huge amounts of coffee and eat huge amounts of sugar. I eat probably more sugar than I should. And I don't buy tons of clothes. It's not my lifestyle. Right. So I do have limited budgets, but there's the budgets for food and clothing. And then there's money that I want to give for work I care about. And to me, giving money to an organization, especially one that, like these two that pay staff, for me is like making my dollar go a little further. Because I know that, like, while I can help one artisan, and I do, they can help literally hundreds amongst these two organizations. So for me, it's multiplying my dollars, and I'm going to do both things. But this is important to me to have a multiplier. Elisha and Katherine, do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't think it's an either or situation for most people. I think encourage people to buy fair trade and to work to support this movement that is looking for bigger system change.
I'll add that Rachelle really helped us fine tune our own personal stories. So I think it's easy to question, why would people give to us when you haven't refined your story. And like Rachelle said, you have to personally tell the story of why fair trade means that much to you and get people to understand your perspective. And that's what's going to cause people to give, not just the blank, fair trade movement, but why it matters to you.
Yeah. And I think people give to, I know that people have given, when I've asked, to these organizations because they cared about my story and they don't actually care about fair trade, but they've given for my sake, if that makes any sense. And you know what? I do the same. I give to people for some things that I'm not real worked up about, but they're asking and I like them, so I give money. So that story is critical. So it's not an either or, but some people will give who don't really bother themselves to buy fair trade and who won't.
Yeah, those are great answers. Thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge. And thank you everybody for being so participative on the chat. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. I have one small favor to ask to everybody participating right now. If you could just go to the polling section of the chat and answer the question of, are you viewing these breakouts with anyone else? And that's pretty much it. I think we have 10 minutes before the next breakout session starts. So I hope that gives everybody some time to rest, chat. There's a discussion board that everybody can participate in all throughout the conference. So I hope to see you all there and on the next sessions. Thank you.